Right.
So for me, social justice is not just simply the same or equality, though those are important concepts, but it's also about equity, providing people with what they need. And power is critically important. The other thing I would say is that it's beyond individual growth and access. That is extremely important because we're all individuals. You're an individual, I'm an individual, everybody we talk to is individual, we operate in one body, right? We're individuals. But there's something that has to be done and said about the collective unequal conditions that groups of people face. And so social justice also means not only dealing with power, but dealing with systems and structures of inequality that also can institutionalize prejudice, discrimination, and oppression.
I would say it entails educating the entire person with dignity and making sure that the groups, other than the student-based group, are on board in terms of social justice. By that I mean the administration for which I am working, the public policies under which I am working, the parents with whom I am working. Are we all on board with the same basic values and issues? And if not, I think it's the role of the educator to bring people on board. Don't let an injustice go by. You know, if there is someone they can speak to, if they need help, I think we as educators are in a position that we should be able to help them, whether that means helping them write letters, going to meetings, seeing an alderman, going through an application with them. I think that's part of our role.
As you did it to one of the least of these my brethren, you did it to me. And I live by this each day. That's Matthew 25:40.
We're sort of the balm, I think, of the education system, because we're trying to get them and heal them so we can send them back out into society really prepared to earn an income for their families and to make an impact on their communities.
So who are these educators of change and transformation? These empowering educators that help to lift and remove the veil of insecurity, provide life coaching in the classroom, persist despite ever-changing policies, and teach from their souls. These are the individuals we don't always see or know about. They're behind the scenes, so to speak, but also side by side, next to, and with the student. The work they do is so critical to help change the lives of those who can change, who want to change, and do change, and therefore change their communities, our communities, by making it a better place for themselves, their children, their neighbors, our world. But how do we get to know them, understand them? We get to know them by acknowledgement. We get to know them by acknowledging and recognizing who they are. We get to know them by listening to their perspectives, observing their journey, and perhaps one day taking part in that journey, supporting that journey. Until then, our journey begins here with those individuals.
I believe a person who is in adult literacy has to be a selfless, compassionate individual who is replacing that gap or weakness with skill and compassion for the individual to help them succeed. That's what adult literacy is all about. Just these are people who are functional, who just were not able to attain some level of accomplishment in the regular matriculation of education, but are committed, sometimes extremely dedicated, to go back and gain that. And they know that they have areas where they just lack knowledge, or they've forgotten some skills or steps or some basics, and require someone to come alongside of them and give them some patience, and without making them feel like a child or less than, but really be in a position to encourage them, to lift them, empower them, uplift them, to show them that they can attain it. A lot of times they already have the knowledge, they just don't realize they haven't used it in so long. So to me, adult literacy is that necessary field where you are helping the adult who has not gained a high school level of education. And unfortunately, it's a necessary field that we have to contend with in today's society.
I think our work in adult literacy is really multifaceted because as instructors we have to provide so many things to our students. In addition to instruction, we have to deal with what their goals are and helping them with career pathways and workforce development, helping them problem solve with personal issues and access community resources. And we're really sort of a safety net for them because they come out of the school system. They might have been pushed out of the school system. We like to call them dropouts, but I like to say push-outs. For whatever reason that they weren't successful, we're sort of the last chance for them because they've gone out into the world and realized that this education that they have isn't enough, and then that they need to come back for more. And so they may have left the school system feeling defeated or feeling broken, and adult literacy instructors are sort of the balm to help heal them and send them back out into society so that they're able to provide living for their families.
We wear so many hats as instructors. As Maureen said, we are a wealth of knowledge because whatever is going on in their personal life, it comes to school, it comes to class, and they can't get around that. So if they need, their phone has been turned off or they don't have running water, or students I've had, so we have to make referrals for them to different places that can be of assistance to them. So we wear many hats. We are role models when we walk in the classroom, whether we realize it or not. And I think that what we expect from our students and what we're able to give to them makes a big difference in the classroom.
I think certain expectations in the classroom, and you can ask my students, I am very, I have certain expectations that need to be met, certain things that they are allowed to do and certain things that are not allowed to do. With all kinds of things that we have going on, family responsibilities, job responsibilities, in addition to trying to make a difference and trying to educate and better themselves and trying to, study for this GED and internalize all kinds of information that maybe have never been presented before. How do you mix all that? How do you juggle it? How do you do those things? But I think teaching survival skills, not only just in the classroom, but outside of the classroom, and recognizing that we do have a commitment as an instructor to help talk about life skills and to incorporate that into a lesson plan about budgeting, a lesson plan about investing. Those are math things that we can easily incorporate into the classroom so that we can help prepare them so that they have exposure to these areas when oftentimes they don't.
I'm going to step out because I think from what I've observed, it's not the classroom that pushes them away. It's not the classroom that intimidates them. It's the external factors in their lives. It's family, it's friends, it's those negative things that convince them that you're wasting your time, you'll never be successful, or you can't do that. And those are the things that we wrestle with. It's those outside influences. I have students, male students in particular, they would not dare to carry a book down their street or be seen with a book bag in the neighborhood. So what does that mean? They don't do homework.
John, I want you right here. This you should have done last night. That's why we call it homework. Well, here's your problem right now. All right? I think that there are certain cultural issues that have always been negative in their lives, and then we come about as instructors and say, well, we want to change that. In the beginning of semesters, I talk about those paradigms. I talk about those habits that have encompassed us to the point where my job and my challenge is to actually do a paradigm shift, if you will, or just do a total resurrection of individuals. And that's what we think about. That's what the term we use is reinventing these individuals who have maybe started on a negative footing
or maybe made some poor choices. And so what we do here is recycle people. Unfortunately, not as many buy into it as we would like. So the challenge becomes engaging them.
To make it fun. You can't go in like Miss McGillicuddy did in The Little Rascals and teach those methods, and because they don't work. You've got to make it fun, you've got to be entertaining, you're on stage, and it's just so important that you engage them in the learning process and that they can see how important this is and where does this, okay, I'm here today, but what does this have to do with me a year from now, 6 months from now? Because why do I need this algebra? All right. So you've got to make it all relative to the students, and if you don't, you lose them. You lose them anyway. But you've just got to make it materials that are interesting, assignments, just the whole nine.
You know, I really think it involves engagement. I think it involves a passion for education and really helping the student grow and develop outside of the GED world, because all those, also the basic literacy skills are important. It's about the life skills that really kind of help, you know, catapult the student to functioning good citizens in the community. We have to find very unique, innovative ways to engage the adult learner because they are adult learners. We learn differently, we have different responsibilities, we have different time constraints, time management issues, and a lot of the things that we've learned in the past we have to unlearn, if you would, and sometimes that's very challenging. So essentially, it's our responsibility as the instructor to ensure that we're incorporating lessons and mini lessons, because it's not just the grand lesson, it's those mini lessons that really count as well, the things that they see us doing and responding to kind of help engage the awareness.
Great. Because it's not about teaching facts. It's right. That's a piece of this job, but I think you've got to realize these are people. These are human beings that you're dealing with, and it's a whole lot more than papers and pencils and facts. Grading tests. Yeah. Anybody can do that. They're adults, and so they have adult issues. They have adult lives. Like they have. And they're complicated, and so it's so difficult because so many of them come in really wanting and having this goal of bettering themselves, but life gets in the way, and then just keeping them in class and keeping them there enough that they're actually moving forward and learning something. I think that's so unique to adult learners. You don't have that problem when you're dealing with school-age children. You know, there's just not that obstacle there. So it's just, I find that's the biggest, and then not having, even the shifting within what we do, you know, the classrooms, the materials available, computers, technology, all of those things, and it's constantly changing. And so trying to keep up with all that and keep our students up with all that, it can be very overwhelming.
Justice. I don't think our field as a whole has embraced the idea of teaching for social justice. And I think largely it's because our field is comprised of so many part-time folks that there isn't a preparatory program really to help you consider all of the factors that are involved in it. And, you know, if you have instructors that are hired on a Friday and teaching on Monday, they don't have necessarily the training to, or even those professional conversations to think about the social justice aspect of what it is that they're doing. I think that we all feel like we're doing something to make things better, but I don't think we're looking at it in terms of how systemically our education system has failed these students and how our social service systems even perpetuate those failures.
We as a society say that we want to be more egalitarian and that we want people to be able to start at the bottom and work their way up. There needs to be a support so that anybody, no matter where they're coming from, can get access to that education. And it has to be something that we as a society value and all that. Because education is what enables people to realize what they can do and gives people the ability to make choices for their lives. Empowering students it must be a function of adult education. I think that you can't have adult education if your goal is not to empower your student. But it's not about empowering a group of people to do X, Y, or Z. I view it as empowering my students to do the things that they want to do. One of the very first things when they come in for orientation, I give a little spiel about, hey, this is what our classes are like, and this is some of the stuff we're going to be working towards. This is what the GED looks like. But I very quickly come to goals and say, hey, what do you want? What are some of the things that you want to achieve? And I talk about some of the people that have started off with a GED and then gone on from that to be successful, because I think a lot of times people tell themselves they can't be successful, or, well, I didn't get my high school diploma, so I'm already not going to be able to do these things. And that's not true. Certainly sometimes it makes it harder to do those things, but it's not true. You can achieve a lot of amazing things. But the biggest barrier a lot of times is just someone telling themselves they can't do it. So the first thing is empowering students to want to make their own choices so that they have that agency, so that they have that feeling that I can do the things that I want to do.
I think in order to empower the students, they need to be successful. They need to feel that they can do it. They need to see how what we're teaching is relevant to their lives and how they can use it not just on the test, but beyond the test in the workplace if they decide to go to college, that they have the skills and the tools to do that. And the social justice, I think, stems from that. Once they feel, I can do this, there are some really good parts about me, I have all these strengths. Mm-hmm. You don't put up with as much. You begin to see yourself as, I'm important, I'm worthwhile, mm-hmm. I can do more things for myself, and I expect more from myself and my kids. I think students feel very empowered when they look back at their story and say, this is where I started and this is where I've come, and if I can do it, you can do it. I've had 3 or 4 students published, 3 or 4 get honorable mention through the OLRC when they published their beginnings book. Mm-hmm. And what a great honor to be a published author. And I've been to college and graduate school, I haven't been published. It's really a great honor, and that's a great way for students to see they can be successful and they do have power in their own lives and over their situations. And it is overwhelming, it's an uphill climb, but they can do it, and there are support people here to help them.
I do see it more as a ministry. I see it as a sense of changing lives, an opportunity to change lives, an opportunity to recycle people who have made some bad choices and to turn that around. So yes, I do see it as a ministry to a certain degree. You're not always successful. Usually you're not successful because there are certain pressures that some students just can't take. But those are personal pressures because they have not been convinced that they could be successful. And I think that the majority of the classroom time is about building encouragement. You become a cheerleader of sorts. Mm-hmm. I tell students that I'm a success coach. I'm just here for your success. I work for you. So it's all those things. Some students buy into it, some don't. And that's the hurting part. Mm-hmm. And there are Sunday afternoons when I make phone calls. And I get promises, I'll be back, Mr. Huff, I'll be back, Mr. Huff. And they may come back for a little while, because they have come to understand this guy really cares about me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right? But again, it's those external things that knock them out the box.
You can have the best skills in the world and be a wonderful person. And if you cannot present yourself at an interview, don't have a chance or have very little chance.
unfortunately, we still have racial inequality, we still have economic inequality, we still have inequalities based on place and where people live, that all are tied to education. And education in schools as institutions, and the performance of schools for certain populations, and the access of knowledge and even courses and curriculum to students depending on where they live. But education generally, right? Because education operates in more places than just in the formal institutions we know as schools.
You know, I think it's essential, and we can't escape it, especially in the adult learning environment. We cannot escape the race, the class, and the lots of different inequities that exist. We have to learn how to function. We have to learn how to effectively deal with them and take each student for where they are and whatever their experiences are. Be comfortable and accepting of that, but be comfortable enough to help push them forward and to challenge them outside of their normal circumstances. That's the key, because our circumstances sometimes often dictate, if we allow them to, certain pathways, and that's just not the way that it always has to be. When you have somebody that has a true commitment to helping that student move forward, there's ways to work around those and be okay with where it is you've been, be okay with those experiences, but be okay with thinking outside the box and moving forward and making a commitment to doing better.
You know, differences among those in inner city are age, physical disability, intellectual, moral aptitude. And we are not given equal shares in abilities, aptitudes, or in wealth. And societal ills that these are societal ills that cause havoc on each person's ability to get a good education. As a tutor, I want to give them the ability to become self-sufficient, to become somebody in society and community as a help to to themselves, as well as to their families, as well as to the community.
Great.
And that's why I'm here. I like doing that. We ourselves as educators try to bring each individual student to be equal among their peers. We try to bring them up in their aptitude and their abilities, so that they are not at a disadvantage, but as somebody who is becoming more equal to others in their community. We do work with the disadvantaged. Those that have, for some reason, not finished school. And we try to help them with their disability. As you did it to one of the least of these my brethren, you did it to me. And I live by this each day. It's Matthew 25:40. And I live by it religiously, because I help those who I think are the poor, and therefore they have God in them, and therefore I serve God through them, in them, or as a way of looking at it. But social justice to me means, as you did it to the one of the least of my brethren, you did it to me, and that's what I live by.
I think it's that idea that we keep talking, like you can recycle, or you can break the cycle for somebody that has gone on probably generationally in their family, that they can make that choice. It's not really us. It's them making that choice to get them to the place where they see they are capable and where they really own it. Yeah, it's just, I love it. That's why I love it, because it's like, you're just, not only are you impacting them, you're impacting their children and their children. I mean, you know that. You're changing a whole generation.
I knew I had the one student, my present student, from the Site Center who got his GED, but I had 5 former students who were there, who got their GED, and one was from your class, I had one summer, and it was just, it made me feel so good that they stuck it through. And some of them, it had been maybe 4 years ago, or 3 years ago that I had them, but it just made me feel so good to see that they realized and that they stuck it through, as you could see. And one student, I started her on her 2 timetables.
Yeah.
That's how low she was, and when I saw her at the graduation,
Oh,
I was just so happy.
Each day is a different journey, and you don't always know where the path may lead. And there are lessons you will learn as a teacher, because the students often teach us more than what we think, if we allow that process to take place. If we are humble, if we are open, we can also become the student. We can empathize with the struggle, in whatever forms it may take shape. We can walk in those shoes, those socks, with the soles of those feet, if only but for a moment. Inspiring change, we can create a community of mutual respect and learning, with the expectation that, like a vine, it will grow, spread, and stretch its arms wide, touching all with which it contacts. Then we all can experience those small victories, which enhance all of our lives, giving us meaning, so we can create a sense of purpose and expectantly inspire hope. Our attempt is not to become smothering wardens or condescending saviors. We are partners in this journey, and the path we plan does not always lead to the destination we expected. But hopefully, we can become better than we were when we started.